All right, so let me bring up Ogi Kavazovic of OPower. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Strategy. He's responsible for all aspects of OPower's marketing. Previously, he was a software engineer, and he holds both an MS and a BA in computer science from Harvard. Welcome, Ogi, and thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Jesse, for that intro. Thanks for organizing this important discussion. And thanks to Bob, too, for that insightful presentation. I really thought the one slide from Pike Research that shows 84% of customers preferring their utility for energy management services really, in a way, screams that the customers actually want their utilities to engage them. And it really speaks to the opportunity that is ahead of the utilities in terms of customer engagement. So let me start quickly, if I may, just giving a quick update on OPower. I suspect most of the people on the phone are familiar with who we are as a company, but perhaps not everybody has had a recent update on our progress. And I think one reason our progress is relevant to this discussion is that we're now working with 80 utilities worldwide. Most of them are in the U.S., but we are in 5 other countries. And in all 80 cases, it is demand by the utility to engage their customers to do a better job in engaging their customers in one form or another. So the need and the realization by the utility sector that this is something that needs to happen is really evident, I think, in our ability to form more and more utility partnerships all over the world. But also, I want to make this point, which is I'm going to speak a bit about our point of view on customer engagement. It's important to note that our point of view is deeply informed by our utility partners, and the conversations we have with VPs of customer care, the chief customer officer, and those people whose day-to-day job is to worry about the customer service they're providing to their customers. So in many ways, what our point of view is a synthesis, really, of the best ideas and best practices that we're seeing in this regard around the world. And secondly, I wanted to point out that we are currently live today and actively engaging north of 10 million homes and customers. And when I mean actively engaging, I mean 10 million homes are today either receiving a home energy report in the mail or via email, or interacting with the website that we built, or receiving an alert from us, or from the utility that we're working with, or more recently interacting with a mobile application that controls the thermostat. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we are constantly learning from this data. We're data junkies here at OPower, and we're seeing, surveys aside, we're seeing how customers are behaving to the different features and products and approaches that we're putting out there. And our point of view is being refined almost on a weekly basis. Just worth mentioning, you may know about us. Our best known product may be the Home Energy Report, which is one of the first applications of behavioral science principles in customer outreach in the industry. We're still very much steeped in behavioral science. As we've expanded from the paper report to all the other channels that you see here, we have very much stuck to the principles of Robert Cialdini and other behavioral scientists that we work with, which has informed the customer experience that we put together. And secondly, I just want to stress the data analytics. What you will see in most of these slides, and then generally in the marketing from us and from other vendors in their industries, is really front-end aspects of our platform. But what's really making all this possible, and what's really critical to successful customer engagement, is the ability to do data analytics on the back end and personalize the content. And so much of our software stack, if you will, is focused on data analytics. And lastly, we continue to improve our platform and our results, and we're investing to the tune of $25 million in research and development this year alone. I think over the next 3 years, we will probably have invested close to $100 million to be able to keep our utility partners on the cutting edge. So everything you see is constantly evolving, and we're trying to keep on the cutting edge of this trend. Let me jump straight to what the title of this webinar describes. Jesse calls it the full circle customer engagement. We here at OPower call it enterprise customer engagement. And this is a reflection of many, many conversations that we've had with utility executives all over the world, and this is our synthesis, the framework that we use in our product development efforts, and it's also a framework that we use when we advise utilities to think about their customer engagement strategy and approach. So the first quadrant here up on the top left is what we're calling outbound behavioral engagement. And this is where we started as a company with our home energy reports, which were sent in an opt-out fashion via the mail channel. We've since layered on email and social media engagement as well, and we see on-bill as a very valuable channel in the future. This is a quadrant that I think is very particular to the utility industry, but extremely important. Just about every utility we talk to will describe their customer base as largely passive, and most of the customers are disengaged. And for the utility who is interested to really gain and benefit from a healthier and more engaged relationship with their customers, they really have to have a behavioral and proactive behavioral engagement capability in place. And it's necessary to get the customers to pay attention before we take them on to the other tools and services available here. So you see that on the top left as a very important linchpin of the full circle. Of course, once you've gotten customers to pay attention and to care, they will want to engage further, and they will likely go online. They may go to the App Store and look for the utility mobile app, or they may give you a call, and they will expect to find a rich set of functionality through all these channels. Online, the web portal should be, they're expecting it to be on par with what other service providers that they're interacting with, cable companies, telcos, are providing to them as well. And they are expecting increasingly these days for every service provider to essentially have a mobile app. And so it's extremely important to have the complete picture. It's important to have the behavioral engagement strategy, but it's also just as important that once the customer is engaged, they actually have a destination. Otherwise, you run the risk of potentially engaging the customer, intriguing them, and then wanting to find out more. If they run into a website that's 3 to 5 years old and not very informative or useful to them, they would quickly disengage again, and it may be harder the second time to get their attention. And I should mention, besides web and mobility, providing tools to your customer service center and to your CSRs and empowering them not just to have answers to basic questions, but to be able to have an informative and a consultative conversation with your customers around energy management and energy efficiency, something, again, that customers do expect, and it's very much a part of a successful strategy. The next topic is marketing. This was surprising to me when I started in this industry a few years ago, but every utility we talk to, I think 100% of the utilities we talk to in the world have formidable marketing needs and plans. Whether it's a regulated utility that is trying to push energy efficiency programs, rebates out the door, and get uptake on them to promote a new rate plan, whatever the case may be, or whether it's a competitive retailer trying to drive new revenue through selling other products and services. Every utility has a marketing department that has a pretty ambitious goal. So there's a really big opportunity that we see is once you've gotten both the outbound and the inbound channels across the top of this circle up and running and the customers engaged, there's a real opportunity to personalize the marketing, to do a better job in providing and matching the offers that are available, the rebates that are available to the customer's usage profile in a sophisticated way, and I'll show you an example of that in a minute. That gives the utility a much higher yield rate and a better cost effectiveness on their dollar spent. From a customer experience perspective, essentially also minimizes spam. And one of the things you'll hear from your customers over and over again is that they'll get blanket marketed by the utility about all the things that are available to them, and their eyes will glaze over, and they will get used to throwing most of that away. So it's really important to personalize the marketing. And the good news is the data is available, especially within the utility channel. The energy data is so rich that this can be done quite well. And lastly, there's home control or home automation. This is a very interesting quadrant to me. It's been a topic of a lot of conversation in the industry over the past few years. For those of us who go to Distributech every year will remember until recently that most of the booths that showcase some kind of customer-facing product, they were showcasing a in-home device, an in-home display, or some kind of a home area network as really the centerpiece of the future of the customer experience. And I think since the industry has realized that that's not a strategy in and of itself, in fact, and it's very important for us, has been a big realization too. It was very important to contextualize home control and home automation within this broader perspective of what customer engagement means. So it's definitely an important part of the overall customer engagement strategy and the customer experience, but it is just a part. And for some customers, it may be a few years out before they go down this route. For other customer segments, it may never make sense to actually invest in a home area network or home control devices. So it's important to keep that in mind. And lastly, it's important to note that making all this possible is the ability to have as complete as possible a customer profile in the back end, and then the ability to do the analytics on top of that data in order to personalize all the content that is included in all these various channels. So the need to have what we're calling big data infrastructure in the utility backend, collecting all the data coming from meters, especially the smart meters and the hourly and 15-minute data coming online, and then also device-level data, which is much more granular. The ability to just not only store that, but be able to run analytics on it in batches in real time is not a trivial capability to have. And so utilities, having a big data infrastructure is absolutely not an afterthought, but a key component of successful customer engagement. So let me just quickly, if I can, just to bring this to life a little bit, go from the abstract to a specific example. A typical utility customer who is passive and may have information, their average energy usage is about normal, may get this report in the mail that gives them new information. This is an example of the analytics and the insight that can be provided to the customer, which basically tells this unsuspecting customer that their heating usage is abnormal. We have been able to discern that they use 37% more energy in heating than what is normal for their type of home. And what we've seen when we send this type of insights to a customer proactively, they engage in very large numbers, and they're almost always interested to find out more. What typically happens is they'll go online, and hopefully the utility will also have deployed a rich web portal that allows them to browse their data in more granularity and find out more. And of course, if there's interval data present or AMI data, they can go even down to the weekly or hourly granularity and really explore their data usage. But more importantly than just data browsing, it's critical to provide a new level of service to the customer as a consequence of all this. So in this case, a customer should be able to go online and say, okay, I really appreciated your report, but there was interesting insight, but the report came after the fact. By the time I got it, it was too late, and there was nothing I can do about my bill, about my high heating usage. So next time, I would love it if you could send me an alert if I was heading for a high bill, and they can select the preferred channel of the communication there. And so far, this could be a very successful customer interaction, and probably no more will happen at that point in time. And several weeks or several months even may pass by before the customer gets the next communication. At that point, they may have forgotten that they've signed up for the alert. But this is an example of an email alert that the same customer may get, and it basically says, we have noticed an abnormal spike in your usage. It must be the winter season again, and you may be headed for a $175 bill. And so the warning in and of itself is something customers find extremely valuable. But more than just a warning, you can help them do something about it. And you can manage, this is what I was talking about, personalizing the offer. Put right in the same email an offer that basically says, were you aware that there's a $100 rebate running on a Wi-Fi enabled thermostat? We really think it makes sense for you. And this customer probably had seen somewhere on the internet or read an article about some Wi-Fi enabled thermostat, and their reaction probably to date had been, well, that's something I'm not sure I want to bother with right now. That's a luxury that I really can't afford. But in this context, when presented this way, not to a specific customer segment, but specific to this customer's household, all of a sudden the prospect of installing a Wi-Fi enabled thermostat doesn't seem like a luxury, seems like a pragmatic decision with a very clear return on their investment. And so some percentage of customers may go and actually purchase this device and download the app at their local Home Depot store, and now they're entering the home control and home automation world, which we've talked about as an industry so much. And by the way, this is a screenshot of the application that we have currently running as a pilot at PG&E, and the early evidence coming back in is that this may be by far our most successful customer engagement channel to date. I think Bob mentioned, and I agree, that a successful level of customer engagement, if you have 3 to 5 interactions a year with your customers, we're seeing customers use their thermostat application 4 to 6 times a week. And the Net Promoter Score on the mobile application so far, it's through the roof. And so customers are loving it, they're using it, and they're very much enjoying controlling the energy use on a day-to-day, whether it's from their office or from their couch or from the next bedroom. But this is not where it ends. Another important point to make. Home control is not the end state. In fact, we've learned this lesson as an industry before. You know, that Wi-Fi enabled thermostat is not the first version of home control. The generation 1 was what's called a programmable thermostat. And the lesson that's been learned in the industry is that, you know, initially many customers will program it and use it, but then over time they will override their programming features, and, you know, a few months later the thermostat will become inefficient and they will just use it as a regular dumb thermostat. And so it's critically important to persist and maintain ongoing encouragement and ongoing and proactive customer outreach. So this is a quick screenshot of an email that we may send once a month to a customer who has purchased the thermostat product that says, great job, we were able to measure the impact of your thermostat purchase. You've saved $55 this month, keep it up. And we find that this ongoing and proactive engagement a critical component to sustaining it. And finally, I want to talk about mobile. We haven't officially announced this yet, but in a couple of weeks with DistribuTech, as a preview for the people at the webinar, we will be announcing our mobile application. And what we see is all of the things that I've described in the slides to this point really converging into a mobile application that will sit in the customer's pocket. And our utility partners all over the world agree there's quite a bit of demand for this. In fact, most utilities are predicting or forecasting that their mobile usage is in relatively short order going to leapfrog their web usage. And so we're seeing preparations and heavy investment in being able to provide a rich mobile experience across all mobile platforms. And emphasis on rich. And what we're talking about here is beyond a bill payment and outage management. We're talking the ability to get a personalized offer right there on your phone and be able to browse and understand your energy usage in a lot more detail, and then flip to the next page of the application and control your thermostat right there from the same one. And so we see this really as the convergence of the full, you know, customer engagement experience all onto the mobile application, which I think is a very important trend.